Florida's been adding some big-time names recruiting-wise, so I figured let's take a deep look at the offense today. And we're not going to talk about how they're going to look this upcoming season. We're not going to be looking at the schedule, anything like that. We're going to have a focus on 2026 and beyond. Maybe some positions to prioritize going forward in 26, and then talk a little bit about how we think they should approach 2027 recruiting-wise. I'm also really interested in fans' opinion. You guys let me know if there's anybody I'm underrating, overrating, anybody that I should take a deeper look into, anything like that. So feel free to reach out. And also, if there's anything format-wise you think I should tweak or maybe change, I'll make sure I do that going forward. But I appreciate y'all. We're going to start up front with this offensive line here, and I'm just going to make a couple notes on these grading systems, these colors here. 5 stars aren't, the pink color is not necessarily just 5 stars, just guys that are either 5 stars, high 4 stars, or guys that me specifically I like a whole lot, and that's all just going down. For the most part, I kind of defer to the recruiting website grades and all that. But anyway, taking a look at what Florida's got coming back in 2026 on the offensive line. Whole lot of starters graduating. We're going to be talking about Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, Damian George. All could be NFL guys, but they all won't be on this roster in 2026. Najee Harris, another guy that could be in the NFL, but we're going to keep him on this depth chart for now. But there is a shot he's in the NFL this time next year. Anyway, you slice it, there's going to be a whole lot of experience leaving this offensive line after this season, and there's a lot of names that could end up filling in that void of experience that's leaving. Rod Kearney's been in this program for a while now, really high recruit. I think they beat out Florida State for him. Remember him coming up. Jason Zamandela as well ended up transferring from USC, one of the best interior offensive line prospects when he was coming out. So when you take a look, I often defer to the recruiting website services for the offensive line grades, and I think how good a kid is in high school is only a very minor part of how they are as a college football player. You can say that about any position, but especially offensive line. It's all about physical development, all that kind of stuff, and I think Billy Napier's got a pretty good track record with the offensive line specifically, so I'm nothing I'm worried about. And the experience leaving, that's just part of having a good offensive line. Some schools, they're happy when some of their guys graduate because they weren't that good, but not the case with Florida. So I think this offensive line going into 26 certainly going to regress, I think, from what they have in 25. But then when we start talking about 27 and beyond, a lot of underclassmen are going to be earning their stripes in 26, I think. And then you'll have a better idea of how they are going into 27. And also, just if you do have to replace 4 offensive linemen, could be a transfer portal type thing that we see. So definitely think that's going to be a priority, both recruiting and transfer portal wise going forward. But it's offensive line, it's like that every year. Taking a look at some of the names they brought in on the lower end rating wise, so I definitely think that's going to be something that you might see them kind of spur on as this 26 class wraps up. Moving on to center, Florida's got one of the best quarterback outlooks in the country. Very rarely you'll have a player just come in and be as effective as DJ Lagway was as a true freshman last year. And now the fact is you have 2 more years of him as a starter. So I think he's going to be very good in 2025, and he's going to be even better in 2026. Absolutely loved Anthony Richardson as a prospect, don't get me wrong, but I think DJ Lagway's got a similar physical presence, similar athletic presence, but a bit more of a refined quarterback, which is pretty crazy saying as a true freshman, but we'll see if I'm right or wrong in that evaluation going forward. But certainly a guy that down the road we're going to be talking NFL, no doubt with that. But looking as far as Florida's concerned, they're going to have one of the best quarterbacks under center in 2025, and then he's going to be even better in 2026. So very excited about that. What does that mean for recruiting? It's a really tough sell to convince a quarterback to come in this 2026 class rather, and even this last 2025 class. So I think bringing guys in like Tramel Jones, Will Griffin as well, 2 guys that are high upside. I think you'll watch the highlight tapes. I think they're very, very much developmental prospects, and those are the kind of guys that you bring in when you have a guy that's going to be your quarterback for 2-3 years like DJ Lagway. So guys that you can kind of take a swing on high upside guys, I think. So I think you're going to see them a bit more aggressive in this 2027 class trying to bring in a quarterback when DJ Lagway won't be back in 2027, just assuming he's going to be in the NFL at that point. But, to be honest, there's even a conversation that Lagway might come back to Florida in 2027 as a senior, but that's way down the road. As far as we're concerned right now, I think this is a really good quarterback room. I would also expect them to bring in a transfer that has some experience, just in case Lagway goes down. You see them doing that with Harrison Bailey and Clay Millen. I'm not going to be talking about 2025, but dude, I read something that Clay Millen has the record as a true freshman with completion percentage in a whole season or something like that. I think it was at Arkansas State. That's pretty hard to believe, but I think you'll see them do something similar next offseason, bring in a guy like that, a Harrison Bailey maybe, similar guy that's just going to be kind of a stopgap just in case DJ Lagway goes down. Then ideally by next year, you'll have an idea of what Tramell Jones Jr. and Will Griffin are at that point. And then going forward, definitely think they're going to be aggressive in the 2027 quarterback class. Now looking at the running back room, I think it's going to be one of the best running back rooms in 2025. Jacoby Jackson's the only name that they're for sure losing going into 2026. Tryon Webb, if I had to guess, I'd say he's in the NFL also this time next year. But Jaden Bow, as a true freshman, he was also a 3-star, so pretty crazy he got as much burn as he did, and he looked good. I'm not going to go that crazy into it, but I'm very excited for his college football future and NFL future. The way he moves at 230 pounds, very hard to believe how good of an athlete that dude is. But looking beyond the names that you guys already know about, or maybe the names that the national media is kind of covering, Duke Clark, Katie Daniels, both former 4-stars. Duke Clark I like a whole lot. Really shifty, really explosive. I think he kind of fits what Tryon Webb brings the Gators a bit more than what Jaden Baugh does. But I think Duke Clark, as he starts to fill out, definitely excited about him. I think that's a guy, I have him listed right now as not redshirting in 2025. Very well could end up redshirting, but just looking at them depth-wise, if one guy goes down, I think that's the name that they're going to start to lean on for depth. Katie Daniels, another developmental guy, I think. Now, the running backs that they have committed in this 2026 class, two very interesting names. Justin Williams, now I have him listed as a running back here, but also a dude that's going to contribute at receiver. I have his whole highlight evaluation up. Very interesting. Carson Baker, absolutely love him from Langston Hughes. I really like looking. This is a dude that's listed as a 3-star. That's complete bullshit, dudes. At least a 4-star. I'm not getting too caught up in the star evaluations and all that. You just got to look at what teams were recruiting this kid hard, and then you kind of can give him a star evaluation or whatever. But this was a dude that was wanted by a whole lot of teams, Carson Baker. One of the fastest running back prospects in the country, ran something like a 10.6 100-meter. I got a lot of shit on my evaluation for it because I was like, oh, yeah, his long speed's pretty good. And then somebody's like, dude, 10.6 is like Olympic level, or maybe not Olympic level, but that's one of the fastest running backs in the country. Absolutely love him, and he's not just a strider, not just long speed guy, just very well-rounded running back, I thought. But very excited about this running back class in 2026. If I had to guess, all these names won't be on this Florida roster in 2026. I would say one of them's probably going to transfer. I don't think Bow, Webb, or those two are going to be gone. But just doing the number wise, they're just too good, I think, for all these guys to really just sit on the bench. Maybe 2027 you'll see one of these guys gone, but whatever, that's down the road. So I'm really excited about this Florida running back room, but take my feelings about the Florida running back room for both 2025 and 2026 and multiply it by like 2 or 3, because I think this receiver room's even better. Very deep. I think the top end talent that you're going to see in 2025 is so good. Dallas Wilson, I'm trying to temper my expectations, but after what Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wingo, Cam Coleman, and of course I'm forgetting Ryan Williams, as true freshmen, how good they were, that's really kind of changing my whole opinion on how good these true freshman receivers can be. And there's a shot that Dallas Wilson can outproduce all of them besides maybe Jeremiah Smith. I'd say that would be asking a lot. But Dallas Wilson 2025, I'm very excited to see what he's going to do as a true freshman. So you're going to back for 2026, and then he can't even declare for the draft until like 2027, 2028. I think actually 2028. That's very exciting. I think he's going to go down as one of the more talented Florida receivers of all time. But anyways, that's way down the road. Kind of pump our brakes. Probably won't produce as much as I'm expecting in 2025 just because he's a true freshman. But I think going into 26, you're going to be very excited about this dude if you're not already. Just kind of going from top to bottom here. I don't think Trey Wilson will be on this 2026 team. I think he's going to produce too much in 25 and have too long of the NFL tape to kind of say no to the NFL. So if he is back, that'd be a massive get. So then you kind of start looking at, all right, what slot receivers do we have on the roster that can kind of fill in Trey Wilson's spot? Take Hawkins right now listed. Watched him a little bit, liked him, but I'm really excited about Vernell Brown also, another guy that's a true freshman going into 26. Very well could end up redshirting, and honestly, he probably will just because he has some filling out to do physical-wise. But, Florida... Florida legacy, very excited to see what he does. I couldn't think of the word. Aiden Mizell, another guy, hasn't played a whole lot. He's going to be a redshirt freshman in 2025. I think you'll see him on the field a little bit, but just going all the way back to the high school tape, very excited about him. Any other names? Nashawn Montgomery picked him up in this last recruiting class as well. Florida's just 2025 receiving class, just one of the best you can ask for a receiver, and it kind of lets them pump the brakes going forward, and they don't have to feel like they have to bring in a whole lot of names at the receiver room. I like the two names that they have right now. If we're going to also include Justin Williams, we have him listed as running back, but could the first day show up at Florida's camp and they move him to receiver because they feel better about him there. He could end up at either or. I like him, and then Marquez Daniel as well, something like 6'6". I have a whole video up out there. Two guys, I'd say Justin Williams is a bit less developmental. I think he's just a good football player. Marquez Daniel, though, very rare size, and it's kind of a similar situation that I was highlighting before about the quarterback room, where you already are established at quarterback, so you can kind of take more swings on guys. And while the payoffs, the upside's a lot higher, the downside in theory is lower, but you already got the guy there, so you can kind of afford to take these swings. I think that's kind of the similar situation with Marquez Daniel, just very rare size. If he's able to figure it out, I really don't see how you could stop a guy like that. But so in this 2026 recruiting class, I don't think you see Florida make any aggressive plays for any big-time receiving names. Maybe I do think just number-wise they will have to add one or two names just into this receiving room. But I think it's really 2027 where you can get really aggressive. And by that point, you're going to have, I've already kind of went off about Dallas Wilson, but at that point you're going to have you'll be able to point to Dallas Wilson as one of the best receivers in college football, a guy that's going to be heralded by NFL teams whenever he comes out. I think it's going to be a lot easier sell to be very aggressive in 2027 at receiver. As always, it's always about the quarterback, and DJ Lagway will be gone by then, so all the recruiting just ties into the quarterback. I think it's kind of hard to speculate at receiver until they do that, but I think in 27 they should be in a good spot to be aggressive at that position. And just wrapping up with this tight end room, I think they're in a pretty good spot also, not really losing too many contributors going into 2026. Hayden Hansen listed as a starter. 6'8", very rare size, so I love that. Tony Livingston, Isaacs, I think two guys that could contribute in 26, if I remember right, off the top of my head. In 25, that is. Amir Jackson, very highly recruited, very highly rated. For the life of me, could not find this kid's high school highlight tape, so if anybody has any information on the kind of player Amir Jackson is, please reach out. I try to do my due diligence, just a guy could not find any tape on, for the love of me. And then Hezzy Kent, just watched him. If you're a Florida fan and you haven't watched Hezzy Kent, this is partly self-promotion, like, oh yeah, go watch King Cold, but also just as like a football fan, this dude's 310 and he plays tight end. He does it pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, I think this dude ends up playing offensive line, but if he can make it work at tight end, just a very rare size for the position. 6'6", 310 off the top of my head is what he is. Certainly 300, definitely north of 300. So very interesting prospect. A lot of guys coming back in 26, so definitely excited about that. And then couple big names, big young names, and that's pretty much it for the tight end room. I think this Florida offense is in a very interesting spot, definitely for 2025, but especially for 2026, just because it's very, very rare you have a guy like DJ Lagway just come in and tear it up. And I think I touched on that a little bit before, but that just does so much recruiting-wise because you already got the toughest question answered, and it kind of lets you answer some other less pressing questions, but questions that need to be addressed nonetheless. So I think the fact that you have Lagway locked in for 2 years and then maybe even a senior year, that's down the line, but that's just really is how good programs are built. It's a lot easier to fill out a team when you have that quarterback. So not only him, they have good weapons. Offensive line might be in a bit of a regression state for 2026 just because of how many names they're losing up front. But weapon-wise, they're up there with everybody in the country. I'd say, this is probably the best, youngest receiving room in the country outside of Texas. Texas is the only school off the top of my head I'll give the edge just because they have a lot of names as well. But certainly up there for Florida. And, I've already talked about Dallas Wilson. Very excited for him. and they got names behind them, and even some of the guys that I didn't mention. Very excited. But you guys let me know what you think about Florida going forward. Anything I underrated, anything I overrated. A lot of these guys that aren't on the roster that I had the asterisks on that are still in high school, I have a lot of their junior year tapes up, so feel free to go check those out. I'd really appreciate it. I say feel free as if I'm doing you a favor. I'd really appreciate if y'all would check them out and let me know what you think about those guys, because it's a lot different watching them as just prospects, as just high school football players, and then when you start like seeing what Florida has already on offense, you can start putting him into, oh, this guy's an H in Florida's offense. Oh, this guy's playing so-and-so, would be good. He's kind of similar to, Dallas Wilson, or pretty similar to Jake Slaughter or whatever, that kind of thing. Very, very fun to do that, and I don't do that in those evaluations, but something I'm trying to start doing with these videos. But anyways, I really appreciate y'all for watching, and hope you have a good day. Thanks.